Hello, dear friends. Welcome back to the channel, or welcome in if you are new. My name is Paul. I am a professional game master and personal chef based out of Denver, Colorado. And it is currently a beautiful, sunny, early fall day in Denver. And I am doing a little bit of game prep for some upcoming sessions. And I thought I would talk about a couple of issues, not issues, but just kind of things having to do with tabletop games, as well as talk about some of the things that I've been working on for my project, the Rended Wall. So thank you for joining me. And as I said, it's a beautiful sunny day in Denver, and it is a beautiful sunny day here in the southern countryside of France. I'm prepping for a Call of Cthulhu game where my players, one of the options for them is to pursue some supernatural creatures into the countryside of France and to find where they are hidden. And this is one of the potential locations where they will be looking. I thought it was very evocative. I love the vine-covered aesthetic with the gables and spires on top. I think it's wonderful. So I've been writing up some of that. I've also been working on, as far as the rendered wall things are concerned, I've been working on some much more detailed maps of the capital cities in the world of Solaria. So the maps that I had prior to this have showed the basic geography of the cities, but they haven't really shown the proper detail or scale that I think is good for a medieval capital city that could house tens of thousands of people, you know. And so I want to kind of just do a more detailed map of each of these places so that players can really get a sense of walking through an enormous, bustling capital city. And so that's kind of what I've been working on there. I've also been writing up a lot of detailed descriptions of the different races and classes options that players can do when they are playing in the game, as well as writing up descriptions of various creatures that you find throughout the world, depending on where you go and what you do. So that's kind of what I've been working on. One of the things that is really central to the world of Solaria is the idea that they're not common, they are kind of rare, but there are automatons. There are these robotic creatures that are kind of attempting to blend into society and either follow some sort of hostile programming that they may or may not be aware of, depending again on their class choice when they're making their character. But also, they may have broken free of their prior programming and are simply trying to live their lives. And so, a lot of the inspiration that I've gotten from that has been, you know, things like Commander Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation, played by Brent Spiner, wonderful role, the character looks very human, but is not fully right, but is attempting to be so. I also pulled some inspiration from the movie Ex Machina, where Alicia Vikander wonderfully played the role of Ava, where she has very human-like features as far as face, hands, things like that, but other aspects of her body are very mechanical and very robotic looking. But if she wears a wig and puts on the proper clothing, then she would fit in, she would blend in, and nobody would know that she was not a human, not fully a biological person, right? And so she is a person like that would be attempting to blend into society. And so that's kind of a few of the big inspirations that I've drawn for that aspect of Solaria. There also are some very traditional fantasy creatures that you will run into, like wolves or dire wolves. I actually had my campaign that has been running for over 2 years now, where we've been exploring the world of Solaria. One of the first encounters that they had was with a pack of wolves led by a dire wolf. Dire wolf is this huge wolf, like shoulders would be just as high as, if not higher than mine. Big wolf. And I thought it would be a good opportunity for the players to test their kind of the combat mechanics of the game, and see how that went. It was kind of a simple encounter, but one of my players decided that they wanted to try to tame the dire wolf, and with actually, I think it was a couple of nat 20s in a row, the dire wolf. How could you have to honor incredible roles like that as a game master, and so the dire wolf has actually been their animal companion ever since. So for over 2 years, that dire wolf, has been a member of the party, and so it's really interesting how that kind of thing can happen. But wolves are a big aspect of Slaria. Wolves are definitely a presence there, and then how the players respond is up to them. They can run away, they can tame them, they can fight them. It's absolutely player freedom, right? Player and game master freedom combined. Now there are also a lot of other classic fantasy creatures in Solaria. There are these creatures called guardians that are exactly that. They guard over specific regions or areas of the world. And so depending on where the players go, or depending on what they do, they may or may not encounter these creatures. So, I have a massive sea serpent that lives out by the crystalline archipelago. I have a magma dragon that lives underneath, is in slumber, sleeping underneath one of the aforementioned big capital cities of the world. And then there's also a dragon turtle, which is also slumbering beneath the seas near one of the other capital cities, but not super close. Now, like I said, depending on what the players do or how they respond, the guardians are guardians of the world essentially. Uh, but if the players are on this kind of traditional heroic path, then the guardians would actually, it's possible for them to be friendly, whereas a hostile party that are kind of the quote unquote murder hobos, they're going to find these guardians to be much more hostile. There are also uh, there is also a cult that worships a giant worm. Now, I was inspired by the sandworms of Dune as well as the graboids of Tremors, and so there's a giant worm out there in the world. So it's like there are all of these different creatures that the players might not encounter, and that ends up creating a bit of a conundrum if the creature is hugely hostile. Now, most adventurers are unlikely to be able to survive a rampage from a monolithic creature like this. And that ends up resulting in something called a total party kill, or TPK. And that means that all the player characters got wiped out. And that means that the story has to kind of like record scratch and kind of like move around a little bit so that the players can create new characters. The GM can decide where those characters would, and it's like kind of starting over from a different spot in the world, and that ends up it can be an issue. It's not always necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes the story needs to be reset. Sometimes that needs to happen, but it's almost always going to result in just like a lot of stress and drama kind of on both sides when that happens. Sometimes the dice are just not in your favor, and it's just kind of what ends up happening, which isn't great, and it might not even be what your GM intended at all. It might have been meant, they might have been trying to get you to just run away. And the party instead was like, "Hey, there's five of us and only one of it. I bet we can take it." And then it ends up like, "Actually, no, you can't." And you don't want to stop your players from choosing what they want to choose, but you also, I don't know. There may be GMs out there that want to wipe out their players, but I don't know why. Um, I guess it just is a foreign concept for me as a game master to be so combative as to want to wipe out my whole party on purpose. Again, like I said, it can happen on accident, but not to do it on purpose. Now, that being said, I think that there there can be a lot of impact and a lot of drama when it's only one character who is lost. It's also only then one player who has to, if they want to keep playing, they roll a new character and can kind of be inserted into the story by the game master. And it's a little bit easier than having the entire party wiped out. That being said, major spoilers for Critical Role Campaign 3. So I'm not going to pass on, I'm not going to skip over to the next slides until I've given the spoiler warning. If you are a Critical Role fan and you have not watched Campaign 3, then do not watch for about another minute to 90 seconds. Major spoilers for something that happens in Campaign 3 of Critical Role. So you've been warned. Spoiler warning. Okay. So in campaign 3 of Critical Role, Sam Riegel was playing Fresh Cut Grass. It was this kind of robotic character, and they ended up sacrificing themselves, kind of rushing in and blowing themselves up in order to take out one of the big villains of the story arc. Now, Sam Riegel had personal reasons why he needed to step away from the campaign, and it ended up being a perfect moment because it was so dramatic. It made me cry. It's a wonderful, heroic, and noble moment. So it definitely can happen, and it can be very impactful. Now, it can be an issue as a player when you have game masters who are trying to get you. Now that is something that you need to agree on with your game master. Some players are fine. Some players are fine with like, hey, no, if you wanna throw me a challenge and if you end up wiping out my character, then that's fine. I don't mind. So that's an agreement that you have to have with your game master. And then they have to abide by that agreement too, you know. And if you are looking for a reasonable challenge that puts your character somewhat at risk but is not necessarily death around every corner, then that's something you need to verbally express to your game master so that they know. Because if their game style is to throw possible death at you around every corner, then you're going to have a hard time. So that's something that you need to figure out between you all as a game master player group together, uh, to kind of be on the same page so that everybody's still having fun and people don't feel like they're being targeted. So I think that's kind of the balance, right? Like games, it's a game. It's a game. It should not create stress. It shouldn't create not, I guess, not an undue level of stress. Sometimes there's stress just because you're excited and you don't know what's going to happen and you don't know what to do. That's okay. That's fine. I'm talking about like, this just makes me so mad. This makes me so mad. Like, then why are you playing it? Like, you're playing a game. Games should be fun. And if you're not having fun, stop playing. That is why I have Dark Souls pulled up. Now, Dark Souls, don't get me wrong. If you can see here, if I'll zoom in just a little bit. This is a screenshot of my Steam. I have all the achievements. I love this game, and I will tell you why. I I am over 6.5 years sober now from alcohol, and I got through those first couple years of sobriety by playing Dark Souls. Dark Souls was one of those experiences that, yes, it is combative. It is obviously it's combative. The world is out to get you. But I was still having fun. I was still enjoying my journey. I was still having a good time as I found the next bonfire, the next checkpoint, as I slayed the next dragon, as I finally beat Ornstein and Smo, and I just like I made it through the world because I loved it. And yes, there was a certain bit of like stubbornness of okay, I'm gonna go back and fight the bit of chaos again. even though I have died 25 times already. But like, I personally, me personally, I still loved it. Now, that's the thing is like I love Dark Souls 1 and as I said I got all the achievements, but like that doesn't apply for necessarily all of them, right? Like I'm not going to punish myself. That's just not like that's not my thing. That's not my thing. I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. If that is your thing, if this is the style of thing that you enjoy, if you enjoy your games making you angry, then that's just something that I just don't understand about you. And that's fine. Like I'm not here to like as I said, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum. If you enjoy that kind of an experience, then by all means, go ahead. I assume you're a reasonable adult, so go for it. But like me, if I am not having fun anymore, I'm not gonna punish myself. I don't have that desire to kind of keep doing that. When I got to Dark Souls 3, I played through Dark Souls 2. I don't have any artwork pulled up of Dark Souls 2. I played through it and I love it. Actually, Dark Souls 2 is probably my favorite of the series because I love the world. I love the lore. But I got to a point in the DLCs of the game, the expanded content of the game, where I just simply was not enjoying myself anymore. I got I think one of the three crowns in the DLCs, and I was like, okay, I got the Sunken King. I'm not gonna do the Ivory King or the other one. Like I just am not. I'm not. And I got to the last boss on each of them, and I was just like, I just am not enjoying myself anymore. You know. And so I felt like I kind of I'd experienced the world to the extent that I wanted to, and so I moved on. You call me a quitter if you want. That's fine. I don't. That's fine. I moved on to Dark Souls 3. I love Dark Souls 3 too. It's also incredible. I got to the Ringed City. I beat Half Light Spear of the Church. I was fighting this guy, and I realized that I was gritting my teeth and I was scowling and I was swearing at the TV and I was not having fun anymore. And so I just no, I don't I don't have to keep doing this. I don't have anything to prove. I beat Soul of Cinder and then I didn't instead of starting a new journey, I went to the DLC because I was just like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like I beat the base game. I'm fine. Like I'm fine with my own personal achievements and well not even just like Steam achievements, but just like how far I got in the game. I'm fine with it. I'm okay. Um Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice. Incredible game. I beat this guy, Genichiro. He was great. It was one of those things where they talk about the combat clicking, quote unquote, in Sekiro, and it did. I was parrying, and I felt like I beat Genichiro okay. It took me a few attempts, and the lightning phase was frustrating, but I got there. And then after I beat it, again I had that moment of realization where I was like, I don't feel triumphant. I just feel like glad that I just don't ever have to do that again. And I don't know that that's what I want my games to feel like. I don't want my games to feel like, oh, thank God I don't ever have to do that again. I would rather it be like, wow, that was an amazing encounter. And like, I know there are a lot of, don't get me wrong, I know there are a lot of people out there that love this game and are way better at it than me and can really like milk it for its like gameplay and its testing of your reflexes and your skills and like all that stuff. And it just was it just was something where I was like not enjoying the world enough to keep going. I think that's kind of the issue that is what I'm running into, right? Call it a skill issue if you want, but Go back and look at the platinum for Dark Souls. Dark Souls is a classically hard game, and I did it because I loved it, and that's what kept me going. You know, I cannot tell you how many times I died to Knight Artorias in the original Dark Souls. Like, so many times, so many times. But I loved the world enough to keep me coming back. And I think it's just as a tipping point for me, right? Like, I think it's just a tipping point where I get to this point where I realize that I'm me personally, I am not having fun. And that's what players have to ask themselves is, are you still having fun? And is this something that you are enjoying enough to keep going even if it is very challenging, you know? Um, I beat the original Hollow Knight. I didn't get 112% or anything like that, but I got the like Void Heart ending. So again, like I loved Hollow Knight. Love it, love it, love it. It's amazing, amazing. One of the best games I've ever played. Silk Song 2 is like one of those things where I have a hard time saying it's a bad game. It's not in any way, shape, or form. I don't think so. I don't think any of the games that I've stopped playing are bad. See, that's the thing. If you quit a game, it does not mean that that game is bad. It just means it's not for you as a player, right? And that's something that we all have to do is like we just have to decide, is it worth pushing yourself? Is it worth the occasional frustration and annoyance and like all of that stuff to continue enjoying the game? And okay, I want to show you something. This is the map of um, thank you at Brent here on Steam. Thank you for your map. I just saw the credit over there. Thank you very much. This is a map of Silk Song, which is the newest Hollow Knight adventure. This is a 2D, two-dimensional map, and it's a Metroidvania style. So it's meant to be kind of open world, where you can go in many different directions, and you don't always have to go in the same direction. And it's not meant to be linear. There are different paths to get to where you want or need to go, right? And it's a big map. It's big. And the issue that I personally ran into with Silk Song was not the combat. It was not the platforming. It was not the bosses. I was doing okay. I don't feel like I was having a hard time with the gameplay or the aspects of the game that I've heard people kind of complain about. What I was having a hard time with was the lack of any sort of direction. Now, this is coming from a Dark Souls player. Now, Dark Souls, you get to the first area of the game, and there's like 5 different directions that you can go. And some of them are incredibly deadly, and some of them are the direction that you're kind of meant to go at the beginning of the game. That doesn't mean that the other areas are closed off. That just means that they're much harder to get to, right? Um, but with a game like Silk Song, many of the areas of the world are not inaccessible due to skill issue. They're inaccessible due to not knowing what item I need to find next and where I need to go next after I found that item. I could find an item in the deep docks that I need to use over in Wormways that will then open up a path to get to Greymoor. And it's like I there's no really any quest markers. I know. Please feel free to comment with me. Comment below if you disagree with me because I don't mind the discourse. I don't mind talking about it, but again, it's not a skill issue. It's the issue of I'm not enjoying the constant back and forth or like testing. Like, oh, I just got a new item. I wonder if it opens up the door way back over here. So I go check, and then, hey, guess what? No, it doesn't. And so it's like I am more annoyed than I am enjoying it. And I'm probably gonna revisit Silk Song at some point when there's some kind of a detailed like walkthrough. Again, like I don't mind following, and it won't even. I don't need a detailed walkthrough. Just give me an outline, of like go here, find this item, fight this thing, and then go here to use it. Like that's the kind of thing because I don't have the personal patience. So again, please take this with a grain of salt. What the heck do I know, right? I'm just a dude. But like it's just simply for me not enjoyable anymore. So I'm not gonna be playing Silksong for a while. But that being said, I adore the world. See, that's why I've really struggled. It took me like I think a good 13, 14 hours of playing Silksong before I finally decided to just like take a break or I guess quit, right? Um, so I gave it a good shot, but like I said, the original Hollow Knight, love it, love it, love it. It is amazing, and I adore it, and so that's why I'm saying I probably will come back to Silksong at some point. Now, I think then you have to find what I'm trying to say is you have to find your own joy, right? Find your own joy in these games. And if you're not finding the joy, then go and make it. Now, what I did was the thing that I'm really joyful about, I'm really passionate about is role playing games, tabletop games. So I wrote a story in the Hollow Knight Silk Song world, in that universe. And with that as my inspiration, I wrote a completely separate story. It doesn't take place in any of the games, it's just inspired by them. And I drew up a Hollow Knight style map for the world. Normally, you do for maps like that for a role playing game, it's top down, like what you see down here, like if you were looking at it from the sky. With a game that you play in two dimensions, where you're kind of you're running and you're jumping and you're exploring, only in those two dimensions. I felt a two-dimensional map is the best way to translate that. Even if we're exploring in a tabletop environment where we are where I'm narrating and the players are discussing and all of these things, I wanted to write that up into something that I would enjoy and that I hope other people would also enjoy as a slightly different twist on it, right? So I drew up a world. This is the Empire of the Blasted Sands, which is the name of the game where the tabletop adventure is set. So I went and kind of created it. I drew in all the different lines and colored in the different zones, so that my players can kind of see where in the world they are, just like if they had a map like this, right? So you find your own joy. Follow your bliss. That's something that Joseph Campbell once said. Follow your bliss. Find the thing that you enjoy about whatever art form you're experiencing it, and focus on that. And if you're not enjoying it, then step away. It's that easy. It's literally. I honestly that would solve an awful lot of issues in this world. Is if people saw something they didn't like, just don't look at it. Just that you could just flip the channel. Don't look at it. Like nobody's shoving it down anybody's throat, right? Nobody's forcing me to play Silk Song. So I just am like, okay, like I just won't play it for now, you know? But I'll find something about it that I really enjoy and I'll focus on that. So that's what I did. And that's what you have to do with games. Baldur's Gate is a great example of this. Baldur's Gate is one of those games that lets you find your own joy. It is incredible. I found a quote here that the game includes 174 hours of cinematics. Now, cinematics are not just cutscenes, but it is also any of the kind of recorded dialogue, the face-to-face close-up encounters that the player will have. There's 174 hours of that. The thing is, you're only going to see a fraction of that as you play because of your choices. You know, you're not going to see or hear necessarily every single thing that Shadowheart or Asterion or Lae'zel says or does because you didn't choose to follow it. It's just like playing in a D&D game or any other tabletop game. Your game master's prepared an awful lot more than you'll probably ever see. So it's just like that's just the freedom that the game allows you. It presents you with challenges, and sometimes those challenges, especially with hard dice rolls, can feel overwhelming. But none of them are impossible. I've beat the game a couple of times now, and it's never felt impossible. Now, I have chosen, for me personally, to not attempt to play on tactician or on honor mode. Those are the most punishingly difficult modes on Baldur's Gate, and they involve harder combat encounters, more difficult, like dice rolls, things like that. It's just is much, much more intense, and that's just not something that I am looking for in my experience. I'm looking to experience an adventure with a good story and wonderful characters and an amazing world that all of which Baldur's Gate 3 delivers in spades. And so I have found more than enough to keep me coming back to Baldur's Gate 3 without pushing myself to do something that's incredibly hard and difficult. Now, if you want to, again, I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. If you want to do something that's really difficult, please go for it. If you have those gold dice, congratulations. That's all you're really going to get from me though, because it's not like it's not again like it's not that big a deal, one way or the other. If you have done it, I'm happy for you that you chose to do that. If you have not done it, I'm also happy for you that you chose to do that. As long as you were enjoying yourself, as long as you had a good time, then that's what playing games is meant to be all about, is having a good time. I hear this debate so much about Elden Ring. There's so many people out there that say if you played the game and you used any of these summons for your game, then you didn't really actually beat the game. And guess what? No, I actually did. I saw the credits. You saw the credits too, right? Then we both got to the same point in the game and we both experienced it. I didn't bother to screenshot it because I didn't even think about it until now. I also have the platinum in Elden Ring. I've gotten every single achievement because I love this game. I'm currently on New Game plus 4 and still having a great time. I still get together online with friends to play multiplayer. I still go in to grind up a occasional another level. I'm at level like 460 something right now. It's an incredibly high level character. I've played 900 some hours with them because I adore this game. I love it, love it, love it. But a lot of people will say you didn't beat Elden Beast by yourself with just a broadsword, then you didn't actually beat Elden Ring. No, I did. I did. I did still beat Elden Ring because I saw the credits and I saw the credits several times now. So yes, yes, I did. And it's like, oh, you never beat Millennia, Blade of Mikola by yourself. No, but I still beat her with my summons and the backhand blade with you sprint at him and it goes swishy swishy. Like I spammed that on her, and guess what? It took her down, and it worked, and it was fine, and I beat her, and that's all. I didn't. I That was the one time I beat her one time, and I got her sword and her armor, and I'm good. Like it's not meant to be some big like bragging thing. I didn't say any of that to brag. I'm just saying that we both got to the same point just in different ways. And that's okay. We can play games in different ways. We can enjoy things in different ways, and that's okay. If I enjoy playing Elden Ring with summons and being ridiculously overpowered and overleveled for everything at this point, then that's how I have chosen to play it. And that's fine. If you have chosen to play a rune level 1 run without ever leveling up and running around in your loincloth with nothing but a broken sword, then that's okay too. I honestly, I'm impressed. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed, to quote Ron Burgundy. Like it's cool. I think that's awesome if you have the skill and the patience to do that. And again, I keep coming back to this. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself. Hopefully you had a good time. That's what games should be all about. Games should not be something that we have to brag about to our friends. It shouldn't be something that we have to suffer through. You need to put up with only what you are willing and able to put up with. And if something is making you scream at the TV, if something is making you throw the controller, if something is making you throw the table or scream at the other people around your gaming table, then that means that this is not the game for you. So just go find something different. Find something that brings you joy. Follow your bliss, as Dr. Campbell would say. Follow your bliss. And that's that's it. I don't know, what else to say. I think it's just important for us to continue to enjoy games because they bring us together in a lot of ways. They also aren't necessarily meant to be a solitary experience. I've experienced a lot of these games in a solitary way. Granted, some video games especially are often solitary. But when it comes to tabletop games, when it comes to tabletop role-playing games, those are meant to be played with other people. They're meant to be enjoyed with a group of friends around a table or around a screen. And so I'm just encouraging you that if the table you're at is not enjoyable, that's okay. You can just stop. No one will force you to keep playing. So, yeah, if you don't have fun, just don't do it anymore. So, um, I don't know. That's all I had. Is a little bit of a soapbox, I guess. But thank you for watching. If you are located here in Denver, I do a little thing called Dinners and Dragons, where I'm a professionally trained chef, and so I will work as a personal chef for you for the evening, where I will shop for fresh ingredients that day, come to your house, make you an amazing medieval or fantasy themed dinner with those fresh ingredients, and then you and your small party of guests. I can do it for up to 8 people. You and your guests enjoy your meal, socialize, have that fellowship together, and then when the meal is done, I clean up. I clean the kitchen. I do all of that stuff, make it spotless, and then when everyone's ready, we sit down and I host a uh, one-shot tabletop adventure for everyone, complete with big laminated table-sized maps, and a big collection of little figurines for the creatures you'll encounter, as well as for yourselves as players. So, really awesome. If you are in the Denver area, please contact me. I'll put the links down below for that. I am also, like I said before, putting together this Rended wall project. I will be submitting it as a Kickstarter project eventually. So at this point, I'm just looking for artists that can help me. If you're an artist, if you are an artist and you want to collaborate with me on a project like my Rended Wall project, please contact me. I would love that. So I will include some contact information down below if anyone wants to talk to me about that. And then I also host a plethora of online adventures on startplaying.games. We've got D&D, we've got Pathfinder, we've got Fallout, we've got the new Hollow Knight adventure that I showed you the map for. So please come and sign up if you want to come and join one of my adventures. I would be honored to have you at my table. So yeah, thank you so much for watching me ramble on. I appreciate you, and we will see you next time. All right, take care.